Welcome to this demo session on the PMP program from Edureka. Now, my name is Mohit and I am a part of the team Edureka, and I'll help you alongside with your instructor, Mr. Niladri. I'll help you, going through this session, and we'll help you with some very, very important informations about this course that is based on PMP. All right, so let us start. Now, to start with, let us have a look at the agenda for today's class. This is the most important thing we must understand, as in what you can expect out of this class. The first thing that you can expect is that you will know more about the Edureka PMP program. We'll give you in detail description, as in how many classes will be conducted, how the course will move on. You will also get to interact and you'll also get to know your instructor, Mr. Niladri, in this class, who has joined with us here. I'll very soon introduce you to Mr. Niladri as well. You will also be able to clarify your doubts about the PMP examination. Mr. Niladri will help you with all the information about all the doubts in case you have any about the examination. Now, we will also talk about the post-course support. What does a post-course support means? It means that once you finish this course from Edureka, what would be the support that would be provided to you from the Edureka team for you to help you to clear the examination, the PMP examination certification. And we will also understand the basic PMP concepts in this class. Mr. Niladri will help you with that. We will also try to explore one of the knowledge area concepts of earned value analysis in this session. And we will also come to know about how to register for this course. And then we'll be up with some questions and answers. So, is everybody on the same page with the agenda for today? Are we all in line with the agenda? Do you have any questions as of now? Can we go ahead? All right, I have got quick confirmations coming in that we can move along. So, let's talk about how this course works, right? So the course on PMP, you've got live and interactive online classes. So particularly for this PMP course, you'll be having around 15 online classes, which would be live 2.5 durations each, to have 2.5 hour durations each. So that will go on for 3 weeks, right? And as a part of the Edureka learning management system, all the class recordings will be available to you on the learning management system. So all the classes that you will attend live, you will get the recorded sessions of those classes in your learning management system itself. Now you will have module wise quizzes. After finishing each of the modules, you'll find quizzes on the learning management system that will help you to understand the concepts better and take some questions as well. Now, you will also have 5 full-length mock tests. Now, in these mock tests, we are going to cover more than 1,000 questions that would help you to clear the PMP certification exam. Now, the most important part comes next, wherein we talk about 24/7 on-demand support. You would know that Edureka provides 24/7 on-demand support to our learners. That means whenever you have a question, whenever you are in doubt, you can just go ahead, contact the support team, and there would be somebody from our support team available to help you on your doubts and help you clarify those doubts. Now, we would also talk about the post-course support. Now, what does this post-course support means? It means that once you're done with the course from Edureka, which is a 15 days, 3-week course, now it doesn't mean that your relationship with Edureka ends there. The 24/7 support and the Edureka team will help you right till the moment you get PMP certified. Until and unless you do not clear your PMP certification exams, our team is going to help you with all the queries and whatever help required, right? So once you're done with all the classes, you can always come back to the support team. You can always take the live classes again if in case you need a live class on some of the sessions again or some of the topics again, you can do that. Now, Edureka will also provide you 35 contact hours certificate, which is a prerequisite for the PMP course examination, PMP examinations rather, I'm sorry. So, and Mr. Niladri will also give you a quick overview of the other prerequisites as well going along. Now, you will also get a lifetime access to the learning management system. That means that the class recordings, the mock tests, the quizzes, the PPTs, the and the PDFs, etc. You will have a lifetime access to that on the learning management system from Edureka. Now, as Kaushilendra had already asked me a question, as in how do we fill the form? Do you get any support in filling up the application form as well? So, to answer your questions, yes, we will be giving you assistance in the application form, in filling up your application form as well. Now, I have a question coming out from Rupa that 35 contact hours certificate, is it recognized by PMP? Rupa, this 35 contact hours certificate will be provided by Edureka to you, which is a prerequisite for the PMP certification exam. So you would require a certificate for appearing into the PMP examination of 30, at least 35 contact hours, and we will give that to you. Any other questions, guys? Any other questions? Yes, Elvin, I believe Mr. Niladri will be able to answer your question. How many PMP points do we get from this training? PMI points. So, Mr. Niladri will give you these details in a short while. Now, I just want to understand in case you have any questions regarding how the course works. Yes, Rupa. I mean, your instructor itself, Mr. Niladri, he is a PMI PMP certified since 2005. Abhijit, you'll get to know about that very soon. Sham, no, it we are in the process of being REP recognized, being an REP. We have not done yet. We are in the process. We have already applied for that. All right. So I believe there are no more questions coming up as on how this course works. So I will go ahead and I would like to introduce your instructor with you. Now, your instructor is Mr. Niladri Chaudhary. Now, Mr. Niladri has more than 23 years of IT consulting and training experience across a range of verticals and technologies. Now, he has conducted trainings for HP, Texas Instruments, Accenture, HSBC, Titan Industries, pharma and chemical industries. Now, he's and in terms of geographical locations, he has been giving trainings in the US, India, Malaysia, Philippines, UAE. Now, Mr. Niladri is a PMP certified since 2005, and not just PMP certified, he has expertise over different verticals as well. As in, he's an ITIL expert. He has been a Six Sigma Green Belt and also PMI ACP certified. Right. So I would like to introduce Mr. Niladri to all of you. Mr. Niladri, can you hear us?
Hi, good morning and good evening to all the participants.
Great. So it is on to you, Mr. Niladri, from here. I would be here to help you in case of any issue.
Sure.
It's over to you.
Thanks, Mohit. Just give me a moment. Uh, can you see my screen? Okay. Thanks everybody. So let's take it forward. So what we will do is we'll first start with a small session about PMI and the exams. I saw quite a few questions coming from the exam point of view. PMI or Project Management Institute is a US-based non-for-profit organization which was established in the 1969, and it's headquartered in Pennsylvania. And across the world, the certification is being widely recognized and wanted for. There are over 500,000 members across 171 countries currently who are PMP certified. Now, PMI is actively engaged in advocacy for the profession, setting professional standards, conducting research, providing access to wealth of information and resources. They have like career surveys. Uh, they have chapters across various cities across the globe where you can become members and have opportunities for volunteering uh, in India, in US, in all the geographies. Uh, Now, PMI also promotes career and professional development and offers certification, networking, and community involvement. Uh, One of the suggestions we always have is that be a member of the PMI and participate in the various events that takes place. That will help you to connect with a lot more project managers in different industries, not only IT, and uh, and that gives you a lot of opportunities down the line to know different ways people are working, how they are solving their problems of project management, and you get to know each other. Now, PMP certification is an industry-wide recognized certificate across the globe. Now, project management professional credential is most important industry recognized certificate for project managers, and its credential demonstrates that the professional has the experience, education, and competency to lead and direct project. Which means we have to understand this here, because what it says is this is not a course to learn project management. The certification proves that you are already an experienced project manager who has the capability. So it is certifying or endorsing your capability that you are a good project manager as per the global standard. And that's one of the reasons why we will see that there is a need for experience on project management to apply for this certificate course. Now, there are two streams. One is if you have a high school diploma, that is, you don't have a bachelor's degree, and the other is when you have a bachelor's degree. I would assume that we all have bachelor's degree. So, bachelor's degree or global equivalent is what you need to have. If you have that, then over the last 3 years, that is 36 months, you need to have 4,500 hours of project management experience to apply for PMP exam. Along with that, you will also need to have 35 contact hours, which is you will get by this by attending this particular PMP course from Edureka. If you are not a bachelor's degree and you are having some diploma, in that case, you need to have over the last 5 years 7,500 hours of project management. One of the reasons for having this is because a lot of the project managers comes from non-IT backgrounds like construction and all, who are who have been there in the construction industry for a very long time, and they may be having diplomas and all. That's how this started. That's why it's still there. Now, the project, what the duration must not overlap, which means that a lot of times we work on multiple projects. Let's say, for example, between 1st January to 28th of February, if there is a project where we are working on two different projects, we cannot say that for full 2 months we have been working on both the projects. We have to say how many hours we have worked on project A and how many hours we have worked on project B. So there cannot be overlap. It has to be separate. I have got a question. I'll just take it once I complete this slide. Experience in the project during the last 8 years. What it necessarily means is that you must have project management related experience. It is not related to the designation you have. When you will go through the course, you'll understand what all we are talking about. So basically, we are talking about starting from activities which is to be done at the initiation or at the time of planning, execution, monitoring and control, closure. In any of the process areas, if we have worked as on any of the project management related activities, that can be taken as a project management activity. 20% of the applications are picked up on a random audit, and in my experience from 2005, I have only seen one person getting that audit, where they call back to the references that you have given. So when you apply in your form, you need to give the name and the mobile number of the person who you are giving as a reference for your work. Now that person has to verify that yes, what you have written is okay. But that as I said, I have seen only one person in all my trainings that has taken place from 2005. If it happens, you have to make sure that whoever's name you are giving knows what you have written there and can vouch for it. Rupa, your question. I'm not a project manager, though I have masters and real-time experience. Can I apply for PMP certificate? As I said, your designation as a project manager is not what is looked at. If you have been doing work which is related to project management, like if you are managing some people, if you are managing some activities, whether it is at the initial stage where you are creating a project charter or where you are uh, doing some planning like creating the project schedule and all. Now all these activities will be taken as project management activities. Just remember one thing, if you are a programmer, let's say, in a project team, in that particular case, that activity is just a project team activity, then that is not a project management. You need to do some activity of the management level, where you are managing either a team or you are doing some monitoring and control, not just taking information and generating a report, where you are guiding somebody, where you are that is an experience which is required as a project manager. Does that answer your question, Rupa? So if you have any specific questions, you can always send a mail to Edureka and we will try to answer that, giving your specific situations, what activities you have done. So PMP is a computer-based exam conducted in Prometric centers. It's a 4-hour exam which has 200 multiple choice questions. Remember that other than the 4 hours, you will also have a 15-minute initial training, and then there is a survey at the end of it. So that's the worst part. You submit your question, and then you have the survey, and then the screen goes blank, and you can hear your heartbeat, and then you get the answer coming. I mean, your result coming out, which says that whether you are proficient, whether you have passed. Marks are not told to participants or anyone. So there are 200 questions. 25 of them are unmarked because those are the questions that they use for surveys, for testing out new types of questions. But as a candidate, you will never know which are those 25 questions. The marking scheme is basically there is a weighted marking scheme for each question, and internally they have a very efficient and sophisticated system of calculating the marks and the pass percentage. In your result, you will not see the marks or percentages. What you will see is whether you are proficient or not in each of the knowledge areas. There is no negative marking. Now, exam is developed by people like us who are PMPs. Once you become PMPs, you can also contribute in terms of this through the volunteering sessions, and various people like that. Once they are selected, they actually help in creating more questions and these certifications. After clearing the exam, you will receive a PMP certificate by mail within 2 months. Examination scores are confidential. Now, one more point here to remember is that the PMP certificate is valid for 3 years. every 3 years you have to renew the certification. What PMI calls it as continuing certification. And for continuing certification, what you need to do is during the 3 years, you need to gather 60 PDUs over a period of 3 years. Now, there are various ways of gathering it, like attending sessions is one. I think one of the questions that came earlier was that what is the how many PDUs or PMI points? And there's no PMI points, it's always called PDUs or professional development units. Now, the basic logic is for every 1 hour of activities, you get one PDU. So if somebody is the PMP already and is attending this course, should be able to claim 1 hour of one PDU for this. Similarly, like there are various ways of getting it. Like if you are attending your chapter events, they provide PDUs. If you are going through certain courses, not necessarily only PMP, but if you are even doing other courses like ITIL or COVID 5 or Lean Six Sigma or any of these courses, uh, that they also will provide the equivalent amount of PDUs. You have to just tell them that you are a PMP, and they will give you the you'll get the certificate for the PDUs. Attending conferences and events that are organized, volunteering in the particular events will also give you PDUs. You can also get PDUs by teaching. So suppose in your organization, if you are taking or conducting a project management related class for your team members, you can claim that also as a PDU. I would like to add one more point here with respect to the question that came up whether Edureka is REP. Edureka is currently in the process of getting the REP, but if you look at PMI's policies, when you are claiming the PDUs, you can claim for under two different categories. One category is if you have taken training through REPs. The other is if you have taken training through any non-REP. REP means uh, reg registered education provider of PMI. There is no basically there is no difference as far as a candidate is concerned or as far as a PMP is concerned to get the PDUs. It's only that the two categories are different in which you are claiming. Here you will currently you will be claiming under category B, whereas if it is RAP, you will be claiming under category A. In RAP, the only thing that happens is the course details will also be there in the drop down when you go through that REPs, when you select that REP. Here that will not be there, you have to just type in. The only thing that you need to keep is some document which the organization will provide to say that you have attended that course for that many hours. See, this is a demo class. At this point, I don't think Edureka is providing any PDU, uh, but any session, it does not have to be only that 35 hours course, but any session that you conduct which provides PDUs will be applicable for fulfilling this 35 hours of PDU Ravi. The point here is we always suggest to have this session because when you go and read the PMBOK first time, when I started also, more than 3 pages, I would fall asleep. So once you go through the course, you keep remembering the experiences, remembering what we discuss, the fun part of it in the class, and then it keeps you awake and helps you to go and study and understand the concepts properly. Because not necessarily always we do the way that PMI expects us to do project management. Now let's take, being a demo class, let's take one area of these studies and see how we go ahead. So the first chapter is about the basic concepts, and obviously it is project management, so we are talking about what is a project. The PMI definition is A project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. So the first thing is a project has to be a temporary endeavor. That means it has to have a definite start date and an end date. So a software project, we have a definite endeavor. We have a start date when we start doing the project. We have an end date by which we need to complete and implement the project. And it creates a unique product, that is your software that you will be implementing. It can be a service, like if you are doing a ERP implementation. The service is configuring the tool and training and handing it over to the customer. Now, what is a result? We have seen product, we have seen service. So what is a result? In some cases, we are called as mainly on a consulting engagement, where we have to only give a feasibility study report. Now that report becomes a result. That is not a product, that is not a service. It is a result. If in our day-to-day lives, we also see our children doing projects at school, which has a definite start, definite end. We plan our vacation and we go for our vacation. The vacation itself is a project, and we need to understand progressive elaboration. That is, at the beginning of the project, we know or we have an overall idea about what we want, the scope of the project. But gradually, as we start getting into the project, we know more and more about it. And accordingly, we have to change our design, our development based on the overall scope that we have already defined. We are not talking about the commercial aspects, because for that we'll need to look at the change management and other areas, which we will see when we are into the details of the different knowledge areas. Any questions so far? Okay, so we will proceed. So we know what is project. What is project management? Now, project management is applying the combination of knowledge which you will get in the course, the skills, that is your experience that you have gathered, the tools and techniques which you use and what you will learn more during the course, to the project activities to meet the project requirements. So this is the application of the skills, knowledge and tools and techniques for meeting the project requirement. Now, project management requires or has a lot of generic management skills, a lot of general management skills like negotiation, conflict management, people management. All these are part of general management skills which is required on a day-to-day life of a project manager. Now, one thing I would like to just add at this point of time, based on my experience of my students, is that one of the problems that we face during the exams is we start thinking in terms of what we do in our offices, in our organization. When you come to this course, when you are sitting for the exam, do not think of what you do in your office, how you do it, because that might lead you to a wrong answer. You have to think only from the perspective as specified in the PMBOK, as specified or as I will specify during the class. It is very, very important for you to understand this and be conscious about it. Most of the time, if you start thinking and comparing with what you do in the office, is where you will get your answers wrong. Now, a project manager manages a project means what? He has to balance various constraints or competing demands to ensure that the success of the project is achieved. The only objective of the project manager is successfully completing the project. And when we say successfully completing, what does it mean? It means that balancing the competing factors like scope, time, cost, quality. There are two other factors also which has been added, which is risk and resource. All these are constraints, all these are competing demands. All these requires the project manager's attention to manage that in a proper manner. We all There will be a scope which is defined. When we start doing the things, we might find that there is more things coming up. We need to change through a proper change management procedure. There is a schedule. If there is an increase in the scope, it will impact either or in both cases, I mean in both, like time and cost both. Now we have to balance those through proper change management practices, or see if that scope is actually required or not. We have to ensure that the product that is delivered, the service that is delivered, is as per the expectation. When we see quality, quality does not mean something different. Quality means that you give what you have agreed upon. Resources, we don't always find all the resources as we want. We need many experienced resources, but we get some experienced resource in a team, we get some freshers, but we have to manage with that, give them the necessary training that is required to make them productive. It is project manager's responsibility to take care of those things. So the project manager, it is project manager's duty to balance and achieve the three often competing goals. Not only three, it's six basically: scope, time, cost, quality, risk, and resource. Any questions? Okay. Now, a project manager manages actually two things. The project manager has to deliver the project, and the project manager also has to deliver the product. We need to understand the differentiation between the two. Now, what is the product? In our example of the software implementation, the software is the product, which has to be as per the functional requirement specified by the customer. That is your product. Whereas the project is how you will execute the project to get that product out. That is managing your team, managing your resources, managing within the triple constraints or the competing demands. That is your project. Now, in case of product, there is a product life cycle, and that product life cycle goes beyond the project life. The product life cycle starts when the project is conceived and gets into life. So you start executing or initiating the project, your product life cycle starts, your project life cycle starts. When you deliver and hand over the product to your customer, the project life cycle ends. But now the product still is live. The product is handed over to operations to run it. And they will run it maybe for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, till the time the customer does not want to use that product anymore and wants a new product. Till the time this product is sunset, this is the product life cycle. And we calculate a product life cycle cost to understand what is the overall expense and what benefit we get. Today we are talking a lot about benefit realization. Now when we are developing the project, the benefit doesn't come. It is during the operation, when the output of the project, the product of the project starts being used, is when we get the benefits. So in our business case, we compare these things. Okay. Can operations come under project management, or is it as process management? Okay. Operations, by definition, we said project has to have a definite start and a definite end date. Operations doesn't have a definite start and a definite end state. Operations is a continuing activity and a repetitive activity. So it is not a project part of the project management. It is operations management. And that's why in this particular slide, you will see project development is the overall project management part of it. Operations is a separate activity. Now, where do we do the project? We do the project in organizations. If we are doing the project on the organization, we need to consider the organization itself to do the work. We need to understand the values, the norms, the beliefs, the expectations of the organization, the policies and procedures. Say, for example, you have got a new project. Now that new project has to be executed in Iran. This company that you're working is in India. And let's say currently your organization does not allow people to work in this particular country. Can you take that project? No, you cannot. You have to go by your organization's policies and procedures. If the organization has a policy that the women employees of the organization cannot work after 7 p.m., you cannot plan to take those resources in a project which requires you to work on a B shift or a C shift, that is the night shift, because that will be beyond 7 o'clock. You cannot go deviate from those policies and procedures. Your company has certain policies of travel. When you are calculating the costs, calculating the travel processes, you need to consider those to ensure that there is no hiccup for the project to be executed because of these policies. So you need to understand those policies and procedures. On top of that, today we work with a lot of virtual team where the people are not from only one single location. We have people from various countries who comes from various beliefs, who has various beliefs, who comes from different cultural background. We need to understand those cultures. In India, you will see that we have a lot of habit of nodding our heads all across. It confuses people in the West, where they understand the front nodding as a yes and horizontal nod as a no. Now we need to be careful about those. We need to understand the authority relationship. We have to get approvals. We need to get resources from various functional heads, department heads. We need to understand what the structure is and accordingly work with them. So work ethics and work hours, organizational structure. Now work ethics, we will see a lot of questions, around 20 questions in PMP, which is about work ethics. There is a separate code of conduct and code of ethics which you need to sign for PMP. There are questions on this which we will discuss when we are going through the course in details. Any question on this? Okay, so now when we are looking at this, based on the organizational structure, PMI has defined it into 6 different types or models of organization. At the two ends, we have two extremes. On one side, we have the functional. A functional is a typical classical organization which we see anywhere, where everything is under different departments. So you have a legal department, you have a HR, you have a finance, you have a manufacturing. you have uh, planning. All these are separate, and each research and development, and each one has a department head. All the resources reports of the department reports to the department head. The appraisals are done by the department head wherever they work. So you as a project manager, when you go to them, you need to get those resources from these departments. But even though they are working on your project, they will still be appraised by the functional head. Now that is functional organization. On the extreme other side, we have something called projectized organization. Now, in a projectized organization, everything works as a project. So that there is a common pool of resources. There is a specific department called project management department where all the project managers reside. Every work is as a project which is under the authority of a project manager from this project management group, and the various resources comes and joins and forms a project team who will report to the project manager till the time the project is complete. The project team will be released at the end of the project and they will go back to the pool. Here the appraisal is done by the project manager for their part of the work. And in between this, we have a matrix organization, which is more like a mix of the two, where we have a weak matrix to a strong matrix. In case of a weak matrix, what happens is resources are taken from the different departments, functional departments, and one of them is given the responsibility of project coordination only. Reporting still remains with the department heads. The issue with this is that we have to keep going to the functional heads to get the resources, first of all, to get the best resources out. Number two, the appraisal will be done by the functional head, so there might be conflict of interest which needs to be resolved at all the times. There is a balance matrix where we have the resources coming from the various functional department. There is a project manager assigned, but the power of the project manager is not very strong. The project manager only gives inputs to the functional head for the appraisal situations. And then we have a strong matrix where, as far as the project management part is concerned, project management is done by the project manager. These people will have a dotted line to the project manager as well as to the and a direct line to the functional manager. Now, when we look at these, we have to understand as a project manager what kind of a organization structure this is, and based on this, we understand what is the authority of the project manager and accordingly handle the situation. So, any question on this particular topic? Okay. So there are 47 project management processes in the 5th edition of the PMBOK, which is currently running. And these 47 processes are spread across 5 process groups. And the 5 process groups are initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, and closing. So these you can also say as the 5 phases of a project. You initiate a project where you say that yes, this project is now going to happen. You assign a project manager, you create a project charter and take it forward from there. Once you do it, the next thing that we need to do is plan. So we decide that, okay, we will go for a Europe vacation, and we decide on it, and we say, okay, we will have this much of fund for this vacation. That is initiation. Planning is where we start talking to the agents, to the travel agents, to the hotels, and plan out where all we will want to go, where we will do what, how many days we stay, and plan out our how we go by flight, by train, whatever. All those is at the planning stage. Execution is when we are actually going and doing the work, or where we are on vacation, where we have bought the tickets, where we are now traveling and we are moving around. You will always see that even in such cases, we go to a hotel, we don't like the hotel, maybe we change the hotel, the location is not good, or we plan to go in train, but we find that it is better to go by car to certain destinations. We plan to visit particular places, but instead we heard that it is better to go to some other castle or something. We plan that. Now, that is progressive elaboration, where on a regular basis we get to know more about the place, about the work, and we make changes to our plans. Now, when we are doing all this, there needs to be a control, a monitoring and control. So the parent will always, the father will always be doing the monitoring and control to ensure that you don't spend money more than what was planned. And finally, once it is done, we close. We pay back all the agents, we pay all the uh, vendors with whom we have interacted, like hotels, car, whatever it is, and we come back, put our photos in the album, put it on the Facebook and all those. That is closing. PMI always says that once you finish your project, you should also party with the team. That is basically for the motivation of the team, for the hard work they have put in. So in each process, what we will see is there is inputs, there are some tools and techniques to execute that process, and the process will generate some output. In a software project, we have the scope, we have the contract, all those will come as our inputs to our requirements gathering. Once we do the requirements, then gathering by interviews and conference room pilots and all these, we will then generate the output, which is your approved requirement specification document and the acceptance criteria. So that is how all the processes will be. The whole PMBOK is also arranged in similar manner for you to study. There are 10 knowledge areas which is covered in the PMBOK. First is the integration management, which integrates all the knowledge areas together. We have scope management, time management, cost, quality management, human resource management, communications management, risk management, procurement management, and stakeholder management. So PMBOK, there's a question from Rupa. What does the PMBOK stands for? PMBOK is Project Management Book of Knowledge. That is your basic standard, which is published by PMI, based on which is all the certification. So this is basically, and it's not very clear, but this is where we will see on the top the 5 process groups, and on the left hand side are the knowledge areas, and inside those are the different processes, the 47 processes. It shows where which one falls, and this you will get, I think, when we are in a better format, when we go through the class and whatever documentations you'll get from Edureka. Any questions so far? Okay, there is one particular topic called earned value analysis. It is not something which is regularly used or seen to be used in most organizations, but it is one of the very good tools and technique to be used in a project to ensure or to have a better understanding of how the project is progressing. Uh, there is a question, do we need to memorize all the process across the 5 phases? From Jay. Jay, yes, there is a need to memorize, but it's not a difficult task. Once we go through the topics in detail, we will understand there is a natural flow of activities. So once we understand the natural flow, it's easier to remember. Okay, so in earned value, what we really do is we try to measure our progress based on the value, based on the money. Both schedule and cost is calculated on the basis of that. We will take an example to see that. So it's objective method to measure project performance and are used to measure project health and project performance. It's a quantitative technique for assessing progress as the software project team goes through the work tasks allocated. Common value scale for every project task. So just give me a moment. Let me just take an example and we will explain how this is done. Uh, this is this is one area where you will need to memorize the formulas. In PMP, there are few areas where we need to memorize formulas. This is the biggest of the lot. And you can expect around 5 questions coming from this particular topic. Now, why is EVA needed? There are different measures of different types of tasks. This allows you to give one single way of measuring everything. It provides an early warning signal for prompt corrective action. So it says bad news does not age well. It means that if you keep holding to the bad news, it doesn't help. We need to attack that and take care of it immediately as a project manager. If we know that the project is not going as per schedule, it will get delayed. We need to take care of the situation and find out what is causing the delay and what can be done to take care of it while there is still time to recover. Maybe you need additional fund, you may need additional resource, something or the other. Need to roll up progress of many tasks into an overall project status, and you need to have a uniform unit of measure for the progress. EVA helps you to get all these things. Now, there are certain things called planned value, earned value, and actual cost. With the help of the example, we'll see what it is. Uh, Earlier, the planned value used to be called BCWS, or budgeted cost of work scheduled. Earned value used to be called BCWP, which is budgeted cost of work performed, and actual cost of work performed, ACWP. In case of PMP exam, they might use the PVEVAC or BCWS, BCWP, or ACWP, any of these two terms, but we should know what each means. And so if they are saying BCWS, we know that they are talking about PV. If they are saying BCWP, they are talking about EV. And if they are talking about ACWP, it means they are talking about actual cost. Now, these are the different formulas that are there. We will not go through in details in each of them, but we will take an example to understand how this works. Just give me a moment. Okay. Okay, can you see this? Can you see the screen? Okay, thanks, Sudhir. So, earned value is the process of measuring the performance of the project against what was planned to identify variance, opportunities to improve the project, or just check the project health. So, it's a system of mathematical formula that compares work performed against work planned. Measure the actual cost of the work the project has performed. Now, here the only complexity that happens is the schedule is also calculated based on dollars. So we have to understand that, and then it is fine. So what is planned value? Now, if you are supposed to work in a project and the cost of the project is $400,000 and it is planned to be finished in a year, the complete project. After 6 months, what does that mean? 6 months means half of the year. So 50% of the work. So your planned value at after 6 months is 50% of the project cost, which is 50% of 400,000, which is 200,000. Earned value management is always calculated at a particular date. At a particular date. So as of that date, that is 6 months from when it started, we have done 200. We are supposed to do 200,000 worth of work. What is the earned value? It is the physical work completed to date and the authorized budget for that work. Now, in the same example, if we say that at the end of the 6 months, we have done 45% of the work. So what is our earned value? It is 45% of 400,000. So we have done 1,185,000 worth of work. How much were we supposed to do? $200,000 worth of work. So we are $15,000 worth of work short, which necessarily means, as Sudhi says, we are behind schedule. We are going late. So let us take this example. And this is how a earned value question will come in the exam. So you are a project manager for the construction of 20 miles of sidewalk. Yes, Rupa, is planned value works in all scenario? Yes, planned value works in all scenario. IT, non-IT, everywhere this works. So 20 construction of 20 miles of sidewalk. Now, according to your plan, the cost of construction will be 15,000 per mile and will take 8 weeks to complete. Now, 2 weeks into the project, you have spent 55,000 and completed 4 miles of the walk. And you want to report performance and determine how much time and cost remain. So, what is your budget at completion? That means what is your total project value? So, how much we originally expected this project to cost? We said 20 miles, 15,000 per mile. So 15,000 into 20 is 300,000. That is your budget at completion for the overall project. So sometimes they may give you like this, or they may give you the complete figure. There's a question from Rupa. If a project is for 1 year, if we calculate for the end of year, that makes sense. If we complete work of 400K, if that is the scenario, why not the planned value calculated for 3 months instead of 6 months? Rupa, what we are looking at now is a new question. The previous one was just an example earlier. where they had talked about full year is 400,000 and what are we doing at the end of 6 months, just to understand the topic of planned value and earned value. This is a new question like what you get in a exam. Here the question starts from this place where you are given a new project where you have to create or construct 20 miles of sidewalk, and the sidewalk will cost you $15,000 per mile. It also says that 2 weeks in the project you have spent 55,000 and 4 miles of sidewalk has been done. So now we are now going to calculate the overall all the formulas for earned value. So the first thing, and this whole thing has to be done in this sequence. So first of all, we'll have to calculate what is the budget at completion. How do we find the budget at completion? See, in the previous example, they had given the budget at completion as 400,000. But here, you have to calculate it by multiplying 20 into 15,000, which is here 300,000. Do you get it now, Rupa? Rupa, did you get the answer? Okay, now what is the planned value? So where are we now? We are 2 weeks into the project. 2 weeks into the project means what? Total project is for 8 weeks. We are 2 weeks into the project means we are 25% into the project. So the planned value is 25% of 300,000, which is 75,000. So from the cost perspective, we should have spent $75,000 to do the work. We have the planned value to be 75,000, which is 25% of 300,000. So what is our earned value? Now, earned value is actual percent complete into BAC. So in this case, the actual percent complete is based on your comment saying that 4 miles has been completed out of 20 miles. Now 4 miles of 20 miles is 1/5, which is 20%. So we have completed 20% of the work. Now 20% of 300,000 is 60,000. So we have actually completed $60,000 worth of work. So what it means is now with all the figures in place, what we have done is we have spent 25% of the time, which is 2 weeks. We have done 20% of the work instead of 25%, which is $60,000 worth of work. We should have done $75,000 worth of work, which is your planned value. And we have actually spent $55,000, which is your actual cost. That is right, Sudhir. The cost is less, so we have spent less, but the work is lagging. This is a very typical scenario, and uh, personally for me quite interesting because we face this quite often. In the IT industry, what we do is we want experienced people. Our managers gives us inexperienced people, freshers. So based on their CTC, the overall cost of the project is less than what was planned because we had planned for experienced people. But because of their productivity issue, we lag behind on the project. So we can act, if we find out, maybe that is one of the reasons why this has happened. So what is your cost variance? Your cost variance is your earned value minus actual cost. So we are positive on this. We have a positive cost variance, which necessarily shows, as Sudhir had mentioned, that we have spent less than what was planned. What is schedule variance? Schedule variance is earned value minus planned value. We were supposed to do $75,000 worth of work. We have done $60,000 worth of work. So we are lagging behind by $15,000 worth of work. So from this, what we calculate is two indexes. One is called the cost performance index, and the other one is the schedule performance index. Now, the cost performance index is calculated by EV divided by AC. That is earned value by actual cost. So 60,000 by 55,000. So the CPI is 1.09. Whereas schedule performance index is earned value by planned value, which is 60,000 by 75, which is 0.8. Golden rule in PMP for the CPI and SPI: 1 and more than 1 is good, less than 1 is bad. So they might have a question like this where you have to calculate the whole thing. Sometimes there is some easier question where you have to, where they will give you the CPI or SPI and say, or between 2-3 projects, and say which project is going better. Now just calculating the CPI SPI is not enough. We also now need to find out that what will be my estimate at completion. That is based on my current way of working. If it continues, where do I stand? So EAC is BAC by CPI. That means what we are saying is, by the way that we are performing on the cost, we will not use up $300,000 which was planned, but we should be able to complete the project spending $275,000 to 29.36. So we will be spending less at the end of the project. But what happens to the estimate to complete? ETC is EAC minus AC. So 275,000 minus the already 55,000 which we have spent. So we need another 220,000 to 29.36 more fund to complete it. Is this part clear? It is, the scope is fixed. So that's the reason why you will see that the duration, we haven't talked about duration here. Here we have only talked about the cost part of it. So based on the fixed scope, we are saying that we will be able to deliver the project at a lower cost. But as far as the duration is concerned, we already know that the duration is less. Now again, here in practical life, it is not that simple. If you go back to our previous slide, there are multiple other ways of calculating this BAC, where we will find that there can be multiple situations. Like today, there is some delay, which is some teething problem at the starting of the project. So for example, in a particular project, software project, we were looking at finding a particular skilled resource, and my skilled resource was not there. But I know 3 months down the line that skilled resource will come into the project, and then things will take off from there. So rest of the project might not have that much of a problem. That can be a scenario. A scenario can be that As it is going, it will continue to go that way, which is your current scenario. There is a third situation where you can say that there has been delay till now. Down the line, there will not be a delay, it will go as planned. If the time is extended, it might not, it might extend cost or additional cost, it might not also. Because if you can take care of the thing in between without additional cost, then this saving will also be there. But if you, in a situation where you need to bring in instead two experienced people to take care of the delay, yes, in that case there will be much more additional cost. So that's why I said that there are multiple situations. Project going as it is all through. Project going as per planned from now onwards, or project will have additional costs, additional or will require different changes. Now, earned value is not a one-time calculation. It has to be calculated at regular intervals. Generally, we say that earned value should be calculated at the end of each phase or stage gate that we talk about, and see how it is at performing at that point of time and what it will do down the line. So when we go into details of earned value, we will see those calculations, all the other ones that is there in the sheet that we saw of the formulas. So all these formulas, when we see estimate at completion, see there are multiple, one, two, three, four estimate at completion calculations. Each calculation talks about something different. One, it says AC plus ETC is used when original estimate has been fundamentally flawed. That means it will go the way that it is going now. AC plus BC minus EV, this represents the projected total final cost of work when completed, when the initial assumptions are no longer valid due to the change circumstance. Then you have BC by CPI, that the project's total final cost of work when completed when the current variances are considered typical variances. When current variances are thought typical of the future, it assumes poor cost performance and need to hit a firm completion date. So all these four calculations are there. Each one will be used dependent on, as a project manager, what you believe to be the situation. Does that clarify, Sonia? Yeah, so that was uh, some preview of what you will be doing in this course down the line. But in the actual course, obviously, we will try to share our experience a little bit more than what we are able to do at this point.
All right, thank you very, very much, Niladri, for all these insights. Now, I just want to check in case anybody has any questions, guys. Please feel free to ask. Niladri is right here with us. He'll stay. And in case you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Uh, Kaushalendra has asked one question: can we have mock session based on lesson we learn? This is one of the lesson that you will learn. So it is based on the lesson you learn. Mohit, class timings, will you?
Yes, Niladri, definitely. I am going to answer the questions regarding the class timings and all. So, guys, just a quick overview. I'd like to come back to the overview of the course. So, we're here on the course page on our website, wherein I'd like to give you some insights about how the course will be conducted and what would be the cost and number of hours that would take through this course. All right. So, basically in the course this would be a 15 weekdays course. So we start on a Monday, for example. The next batch starts from 17th of March, which is 8 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. IST. Right now you can, on the website, you can easily change the time zones as well. So for now I'm talking about IST. It would be 8 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. IST every day, Monday to Friday, for 3 weeks. That means Monday to Friday, again Monday to Friday, and then Monday to Friday again. A total of 15 classes, wherein you'll be covering around 37.5 hours of live sessions. Right now, as I said, all these live sessions will be recorded that you attend and would be put on the LMS, would be available for your reference in the LMS, right? So you can easily go through the previously recorded sessions, and you can go through the, in case you want to revise something, you can go through the recorded session. You may also want to download that session, right? So I also have a question regarding the cost of this course. So Ravi has asked this question. Ravi, the cost of this course in INR is 11,999 rupees. All right. And if you want me to convert this into dollars, so in USD, the course fees is around $219. Right. So any other questions, guys, regarding the course? Jay, I hope your question regarding the class timings has been cleared. Okay, Kaushalendra has asked what is the time available in the morning. So Kaushalendra, for the upcoming batches that we have on 17th March and 31st of March, the class timings would be 8 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. And then again, I'm sure there will be a class starting on the morning timings as well, which would be around 7 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. considering the DST, the daylight saving. Sudhir, yes, for these two batches, the class timings is going to be same, but in case you're looking forward for any other class timings or perhaps in the morning, you can always get back to the sales team and ask for the options. Yes, Sheetal, these hours we will be, as we mentioned at the starting of this session, you'll be getting the prerequisite 35 contact hours through this course. Okay, Jay, yes, for the CST time zone, there will be evening sessions, but the batch is not finalized yet. We may actually give you the details in a separate email for that. All right, now for there is one more very, very important information